Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Reckless Dreamer. This week I wanted to do something different. So I went to social media and I gave you guys the opportunity to pick my brain. I got so much great feedback. And here are some of my favorite questions. So let's get started. Our first question comes from Instagram. I Rock Your Socks wants to know, when did you decide you wanted to be a fashion designer? I don't know, that's kind of funny because I really don't know when I decided officially that I wanted to be a fashion designer. I think it kind of just happened. I think growing up in high school, I always dressed different. Like I've always been the chick that's gonna wear something weird. Like I wear a long dress with cowboy boots. Like in high school, I was like, yeah, definitely dressing different. And I think, I don't know, it just happened. I think I've always been surrounded by fashion. Like my grandmother sewed, my great grandmother sewed, so I would come home and see her in her sewing room with clients and fittings and tape measures and scissors and sewing machine. You know, I've always been around that, but I think once I got out of high school, I started dabbing into it a little bit myself. I told my grandmother I wanted to sew. She bought me a sewing machine. Next thing you know, I'm making pieces for me, my friends, and it just grew into this thing. So, I don't know, fashion just happened. That's what I'll say. It's always been a part of my life, so it just happened. Like, I know that sounds like so broad and so, you know, largely put, but that's the truth. I don't know. It just happened. Fashion just happened. So yeah, I rock your socks. I hope I answered your question. Yeah. I don't know, it's just always been in me. I'm a fashion girl. So yeah. Alright. Our next question comes from Facebook. Randy Holloway wants to know, what defines Chargrels? I don't know. When I think about what defines me, the first word that pops in my mind is rebellious. Like that's the first word. I don't know why. I just feel like when I'm designing, I always think of ways to push fashion. Like, how can we make this skirt look different than any skirt you've ever saw? How can we make this sweater still be something that you can relate to, but still turn heads? Like, you know, I still want you to look, we don't want you to walk in a party and people like, oh, you know, but at the same time, I don't want you to look like everybody else. So I think when I design, I make stuff that you can relate to, but it has like an edge, like a twist to it. So I think, you know, what really makes Chargrels, like what is the core of the brand, is I would just say being different and just having your own way of looking at things and your own way of dressing and styling. So that's what defines us, our need and want to make pieces that stand out but also kind of blend in. It's just like a little weird mixture, but yeah, we're different. We like to be different. Like, why look like everybody else? I'm sorry. Why look like everybody else? So that's what I think. I think Chargrels is different. We're gonna rock out, we're gonna have some different stuff. You're not gonna look like everybody else, but you're still gonna be fly. So that's what defines us, our need to be fly. So yeah, that's what I think. Our next question, I went back to Instagram. At Styles Batara wants to know, do you ever hesitate before creating or designing a piece or worry about how it will be received? Honestly, I don't. I honestly don't. When I make pieces, I make them from the heart. I design pieces that are true to me. And then it depends on the season. If it's summer, however I'm feeling, what's my interpretation of how a fly girl should look this summer? You know, are we doing long maxes? Are we doing short? So I pay attention to trends, but I kind of fly solo, honestly. So I don't really worry because I feel like it's an old saying they have, if you build it, they'll come. So I feel like if you stay true to who you are as a designer and you build your brand on integrity and being consistent, I think that your brand will grow with you. So you can't really worry about what anybody else is doing. You can't really worry about how to be received. You have to just do your best. And I design true to heart things that I think you know, are me, you know, that are Char, that really, you know, kind of captures my feeling and my views of what the season is or what a particular piece should be. So no worries here. I'm designing and we rocking. So thanks, Styles Batar. That was a really good question. All right, so now we took to Twitter. Sassy Girl, hey, Sassy Girl 21 wants to know, what advice do you have for an up-and-coming fashion designer? Now, I get asked this question all the time, and I honestly give the same answer each and every time. Be consistent. That's with any job you want to be, but really with fashion, because a lot of times people think fashion, they think glitz and glamour. They don't know that this is a lot of hard work. So being consistent is the one thing that will keep you, it'll keep you going, and it'll give your brand a chance to grow. So I would just say be consistent. Make sure that you have your own point of view. It's okay to look at other people and admire their work, or either, you know, relate to their design aesthetic, but you have to have your own. You must have your own point of view. That way your clients can relate to your, you know, your point of view as far as fashion. So be consistent. Definitely have your own point of view, and get tough skin. You can't be sensitive, because it could be something that you make that you're passionate about. It might not be received how you think it should be. That doesn't mean stop, or it doesn't mean it's not a great piece. Maybe that's not your targeted market. You know, maybe you need to, you know, you have to find who your client is, or who, you know, who you're designing for. So yeah, if you want to be a fashion designer, it's enough. It's definitely a saturated market. Like, we know that, you know, everybody's into fashion, you know, that whole thing, but you can do it. It's anything you set your mind to do, you can do. So if you want to be a fashion designer, go for it. But make sure this is really what you want to do, and have fun. Fashion is fun. So yeah, go for it. All right. So my next question, what did I do? Oh, we're back at Facebook. No, this is Instagram. I'm sorry. We're back at Instagram. I'm all over the place. I'm on every social network, so I get it kind of twisted sometimes. So now, yeah, we're back at Instagram. Intelligent One wants to know, from beginning to now, what has been your biggest challenge? I think in the beginning, my biggest challenge was resources. I think, you know, I had limited resources in the beginning. And there's nothing worse than not being able to fund your dreams. Like, that's the worst thing ever, having these big dreams with little funds. So that was my biggest challenge. But it's so funny, because it ended up being the one thing that made Chargrels amazing. That means not having large resources, I was able to be creative. So that's where it came. You know, in the beginning, I did a lot of reconstructing with vintage pieces, because it was affordable, it was something I can do. And that, to me, is the base of Chargrels. Like, I've always had like an undertone of vintage in my line. Like, if you really kind of do research or look at the line, it's always had a vintage undertone. So in the beginning, that was my base, because it was affordable. You can go get you a vintage piece, reconstruct it, and it taught me how to design, because I was able to take pieces of loose, and, you know, just, it was no limit on the creativity that you can have, because the pieces were so accessible. So in the beginning, I think, again, one of the biggest challenge ended up turning into one of the greatest assets for me. So that, I don't know if that answered it, but yeah, that was my biggest challenge in the beginning, was resources. And then now I think my biggest challenge is slowing down. I think you kind of have where you are and then where you want to be. Like, everybody sees what other designers are doing or what other people are doing and feel like they're not close enough, when really you're where you're supposed to be. So I think my biggest challenge is being able to live in the now and being okay with where I am. And I had to redefine my level of success. You know, sometimes you think you're not successful if you're not dressing this person, or you're not there, you're not, you know, where you see other people at. But the true thing is, you're exactly where you should be. So I think my biggest challenge now, and I have to tell myself that, is to slow down and be okay with where you are now. So yeah, I battle with that a lot, to be honest with you. So yeah, my biggest challenge right now is being okay with being where I am now, and just slowing down and then enjoying the journey. So yeah, slow down. So that's my biggest challenge. Let me see, do I have another question? I don't know, I think I answered all these questions here, but I think I'll do this again. This was kind of fun. So I'll make another post and I'll put it all over the different social networks. And you guys ask me some more questions if I didn't answer something maybe that you wanted to know. So we'll pick up again and do this again. This was kind of fun. So yeah, picking Char's brain. You guys see how I'm following? You guys asked some really, really good questions. So see you next time, and thank you again for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe below. Thank you.